Hello, Professor Toybox here. I've got Agent P with me, and today I'm going to implement the third of Agent P's 5 missions in my Danville toy box. This mission is an homage to the Season 1 episode, The Fast in the Phineas, in which Dr. Doofenshmirtz tries to deflate everything in the tri-state area from his blimp using his Deflate-inator ray. I was inspired by 72 Pringle's Mandalorian toy box, in which the player sets off some charges in order to blow up each of the dropships and save the baby Yodas, and I thought that would be a fun way to take out Dr. Doofenshmirtz's blimp here, so that's what I did. Now to save a little time, I've already dropped down the creativitoys that I'm going to need, and I'll come into Spark mode, and we'll show you what I've got. This is most of them. We're going to put down some more as we go along. But we have our button that we're going to use temporarily to launch the mission. And again, we'll pass that through this logic gate. Not that I need the open-close behavior of the gate, but just so that I can hook everything up one time to this. And then later on, when we do the random generation for the missions in Agent P's lair, we just have to make one logic connection to this gate. And then we have a time delayer, another logic gate, and 2 effects generators. And I've also dropped down a locator over here, just temporarily. We also have a replayer, a collectible tracker, 2 more time delayers, and another effects generator. So a total of 3 time delayers and 3 effects generators. And I've kind of grouped these together, as you can see, to hopefully help you understand how it goes together, because this is probably the most complicated mission to build in this toy box as far as logic goes, but we'll go through this one step at a time. Now the other thing that I've put down, I've placed a locator here in midair, and I'll show you where that is in a moment, but it's lined up with this target camera over here, and this camera is lined up. You can kind of see, let me get situated here a little bit better. You can kind of see where it is lined up with respect to the house below, right on that building scene. And it's lined up over top of this lane on the road. And as far as height goes, if you look at the red building over there, we're about halfway, maybe a little bit more than halfway up. And so the locator that this is going to connect to for what we're going to look at is straight out from there, right over here, right up on the middle of the road. So straight out from that target camera, right on the road. So that is where that is located. Alright, so as we get started, I think the first thing to do is go ahead and put the blimp in here and the charges that will be needed to blow it up, and we're going to use a replayer for that. So we'll come into the properties for this and set the playback interval to 0. And then I'm going to come out of Spark mode and out of the editor. And once again, we will step on the replayer to open the menu in the lower right. And on my Wii U, I press B to start recording, and then I step off so I can get back into the editor. And we're going to go down to Building Sets Group 2. And we have these San Francisco flying pink turbines. There's a pink one and a yellow one and a blue one. I'm going to use the pink one. And it doesn't really matter. You can use whichever one you want. But the key for this is neither Phineas nor Agent P can fly, and so I'm going to need to use a glider to get up here. That's one of the packs that I'm going to give Agent P down in his lair. And so we need to make sure that he can get up on top of this blimp, and so he's going to have to climb on these buildings over here to do that. And so I'm going to line up the top of this blimp with this skyscraper right over here. And we don't want to go too high, because I want him to be able to land on this. So this is going to go right like that. That's the proper height. And then I'm going to come center this over the road, and we're going to back this up right over here so that the front edge is lined up with the edge of that driveway below, just like that. And that's where I'm going to place the blimp. And then we're going to need to place the charges with this replayer as well. So we'll come up to the Gameplay Toys drawer, and I'm going to use this mech device collectible. And we're going to line this up. I'm going to place 4 of these. So I'm going to place one of them right out here on the tip of the blimp. I'm going to place one of them back here on the back end of this, like that. And then we'll place one on either side of the blimp, about halfway up. And we'll place one over here and one over here. So a total of 4 charges. And then I'm going to exit out of the editor. So 1 blimp and 4 charges. And then we'll step on the replayer. And again, I press B on my Wii U to stop recording. And I am not going to clear this yet, because I need to leave that up there for a little while. Okay, so now that we have our blimp and it's positioned up here, let's go ahead and plant some locators around this, because when we blow this up, I'm going to hide that clearing of the replayer with an explosion. And so we're going to place a bunch of locators around this thing. And I want to get these things up as close as I can to this. And so about right here. And we're going to get up about like that for the first one. And then we'll come down a little ways. Not quite that low, about like that. We'll place one right there. Again, as close as we can get without being underneath the blimp. And we'll place another one out over here like that. And the player is not going to be, hopefully, standing on top of this. So if they jump off and run away, I kind of want to make sure we're covered from below. So that's why I've got a couple of those down below like that. And since I don't know which way they're going to run, off the back or the front or the sides, we'll put some locators around the perimeter of this. So like that. And then we'll put one about like that. And another one back here, about halfway up. That should be pretty good. And then we'll put one more up about like that, kind of directly across from the first one we placed over there. And then I'm going to put one more on the back. And we'll position this about right there. So I think that would be a good spot for that. And so we've got 3 on that side, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, that's 5, and 3 more on that side. So that's 8 locators connected up to that blimp. And those are going to be connected up to this effects generator. And so we're going to do on this effect generator a new locator connection. And we're going to come up to each of these locators and put that as an effects location. And I'm going to do that for each and every one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and connect these up offline, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I'm back, and if I select my effects generator and open the logic menu, you can see I've connected it to all of those locators, and I now have 8 locator connections under here. 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's connected up now to all of those locators. Now the next step, we've got that set up. Let's go ahead and hook up the path for the weapon, because every few seconds the Deflate-inator is going to be shooting out of the nose cone of this. And so we're going to come over to the Creativitoys and come to the Path Creator. And I'm going to put this right inside the nose cone for the turbine. And then we're going to go straight out. And we're going to come straight down. We're going to come right over here to about this point on the path, or on the road. So just inside, and you could even go up a little higher if you want, doesn't really matter. As long as the point is pretty close to the road. So something like probably that would be perfect. Oops, not that way. Yeah, so you could do it here or anywhere along there as long as this point is visible. You don't want this to be underneath the road like that. So something like this or something like that. So I'm going to do mine. Let's do it right here. And then we'll exit out. And so there's our path. And then we're going to come back up to the ship, to the path creator, and open the properties. And we're going to, let's see, for the properties, we're going to leave active on. I'm going to set the speed to be the maximum of 300. Looped is off. Rail slides off, and auto start is off. And the rest of those all look fine. Okay. So that's where the projectile is going to go as it goes down to the ground. Now what's going to govern that is going to be these controls over here. And the locator is going to be the projectile that we're launching. That's what we're going to connect to the path. And so on this locator, we'll do a new path connection. We're going to come up and connect it to that path, like that. And you'll notice it left the locator down here, but that's actually good because if it did move it up there, it would make it really hard to select. So that's fine. But under the locator properties, we're going to come down to Toy Box Path, and I'm going to set the speed on this to be 200. And all of the rest of these are fine, except we want to change the movement style to one-way and stop. So there's our projectile. And we're going to hook that up to this first effects generator back here. So we're going to do a new locator connection and connect it up to that locator. All right, and then we're going to need another locator. I'm going to place this right over here above that endpoint on the path, because that's where the explosion is going to occur when the projectile hits. And that's going to be connected up to this second effects generator over here. So we'll do a new locator connection with that. We'll connect it up to that locator. Okay. And then we want to have this happen every so often, and that's why we have this time delayer over here. So for the properties on this, we're going to set this to be 6 seconds. So every 6 seconds, the blimp is going to shoot. And now those controls are set up and ready to go. And so let's go ahead and hook up this part of it. And so for our button, again, we're going to connect this up, new logic connection when pressed, to this logic gate, and we're going to do an input. And then this logic gate will drive the start of the mission. So on this logic gate, we'll do a new logic connection on output. And the first thing I want to do is come over and open this logic gate. Because once this time delayer starts going off, and we hook this up to that path. The only way to break the cycle is going to be to close this gate. And so first thing we want to do is make sure that gate is open. The next thing we'll do, a new logic connection on output. We'll come over to the time delayer and start the delay. And the other thing we're going to want to do, new logic connection on output. We're going to do a playback on the replayer. And right now I've already done the playback. It's actually been played back and everything's up there. So I need to make sure I clear this replayer manually before I push this button. So just be very careful of that. The other thing we'll do with this logic gate while we're right here, let's go ahead and wrap this up, is on output. We're going to come over to our Collectible Tracker and reset it. And a new logic connection on output. We need to turn on the target camera so that the player, who is ultimately going to be down in Agent P's lair, can see what it is they're supposed to do. And so we'll activate that target camera. And while we're right here, let's go ahead and set the properties for that. Everything under here, let's see, it looks mostly good. We're going to use define duration, and I'm going to leave it set to the maximum of 10. These are all fine. Glow through is off. Camera target will be the connected locator, which I'll connect up in a moment, and the rest of those are fine. So now we'll go ahead and do that new locator connection. And again, we're going to connect it up to this locator right out here. Okay, so that's everything that this logic gate needs to do to start the mission. Now, once it kicks off this timer, 6 seconds later, this is going to go off. And so we're going to do a new logic connection on the time delayer. When the delay is completed, we're going to input into this logic gate. And on that logic gate, a new logic connection on output. We're going to come over to the first effects generator, the one that's connected up to our projectile locator there. And under this one, we are going to do play looped under explosions, subtle fireball. Okay. And then to go along with that, it'd be nice to have a sound effect. So on that logic gate, we'll do a new logic connection on output. In addition to starting the visual effect, we'll come over to our sound generator. And under the action category, if you scroll down a little bit, there is a laser gun sound. That's the one I'm going to use. And then the other thing we'll do on that logic gate is a new logic connection on output. We need to have that locator start moving along that path. So we're going to come up to the path and do a reset and play. So now the visual effect will start on that locator, and the locator will start moving down the path, and that sound effect will play the laser gun sound. Okay. So now when we get to this path point, we need to play an explosion down here. And so on this path point, we're going to do a few things. I'm going to open the logic menu and do a new logic connection. When the point is reached by the object on the path, first thing I want to do is come over to this first effects generator over here, the one for my projectile, and stop looping the effects. Okay. And did I already hook this up to that locator? Yes, I did. So then the next thing we'll do on this path point is a new logic connection. When the point is reached by the object on the path, come over here to the second effects generator And we're going to play one time out of the explosions drawer. We're going to play the huge explosion. And then again, it would be nice to have a sound effect go with that. So on the path point, new logic connection when the point is reached by the object on the path. Come over to our sound generator, and under the action category, we're going to play the large explosion sound. Alright, so at this point we have, when the mission starts, the camera comes on, the replayer will put the charges and the blimp out here, and the point for our projectile will start going along this path every 6 seconds or so, and the blimp will be shooting and the road will be exploding and it'll look like a pretty dire situation. Oh, and one more thing we want to do, because we want this to happen every 6 seconds. The fourth thing this path point needs to do is a new logic connection when the point is reached by the object on the path. Go ahead and start this time delayer again for the next projectile. So 6 seconds after the first one hits, we'll launch a second one. Okay, so that takes care of the blimp shooting. Now the next stage of this is going to be when the player gets up here on top of the blimp and picks up all of these charges. And we're ready to blow up the blimp. And all of that is going to be governed by the Collectible Tracker. So on the properties for this, for the collectible type, we need to set this to the type that we're using, which is the mech device collectible. And we'll go ahead and show those on the radar. And now for the Collectible Tracker, we're going to make a few connections on this. So, new logic connection when the final collectible is collected. We want to go ahead and come over here and close this gate so that we're not shooting anymore because the blimp is about to blow up. And on the Collectible Tracker, a new logic connection when the final collectible is collected. We're going to come over to the time delayer and start the delay. And I'll show you what that's for in a moment. And on the Collectible Tracker, a new logic connection when the final collectible is collected. I want to warn the player they need to get off the blimp. So we're going to come back over here to our text displayer. And underneath the warning category, we can do run away or get out of here or whatever. I'm going to do run away. So that lets the player know they need to get out of there. And that's what this time delayer is for, is to give the player a chance to get off that blimp before we blow it up. And so on the properties for this time delayer, I'm going to set the delay time to be 5 seconds. That should be enough time to jump off, get down to the road, and hopefully find a vantage point to watch the fireworks. And so on this time delayer, we'll do a new logic connection when the delay is completed. And once again, there's a number of things we want to do here. First thing is we'll come over to this effects generator, the one that's connected up to all of those locators up there. And we're going to play one time out of the explosions category, the huge explosion. And again, it'd be nice to have a sound effect to go with that. So on that time delayer, new logic connection when the delay is completed, come over to our sound generator, and under the action category, once again, we'll play the large explosion sound. So we'll have a nice satisfying visual and an audio cue. And then on this time delayer, new logic connection when the delay is completed, I'm going to come over to the second time delayer here and start the delay. And what this one is for is to give the blimp a chance to blow up and that sound effect to finish playing before we do our end of mission flourish. And so that's what I am doing with this. And I'll come back to that in a moment. The last thing this time delayer needs to do, new logic connection, delay completed. We want to clear the replayer because we've just blown it up, so the blimp needs to go away. All right, and that is everything. 1, 2, 3, 4 connections. Okay. So then this time delayer on the end will go off and do the end of mission flourish. So on this time delayer, I'm going to set the properties, the delay time to be 2 seconds. And we'll do a new logic connection on delay completed. Come over to the sound effect generator. Under the musical category, do the fanfare. And a new logic connection when the delay is completed. Come over to our action enforcer, and we'll have all of the players celebrate. Okay, and I think that's everything. Just double checking all of my connections here. I believe that's it. All right, and in order to run the mission, we're going to need that glider pack. And so in the layer, we're going to set this first one to be the glider pack. And we're going to do that with the level starter. So under the level starter, we're going to do a new logic connection on catalyze. We'll come down to this first one. And under packs, we're going to do Buzz Lightyear's jetpack. That's really the glider. Okay, and I believe that's everything. So I'm going to go ahead and save my game. And let's go ahead and clear this replayer, which will take the blimp out. Now I'll go ahead and save my game, and then we'll test the mission out. Okay, so I've saved my game, and I'm back over here at the house, and I'm going to push my button, which will kick off the level starter and bring the glider pack into the layer downstairs. And just so I don't have to play through Candace's thing, we'll go ahead and push this button to turn that off. And now we'll head down into the layer. And our glider pack is over here waiting for us. So we can pick that up. And ordinarily I would go, well, when we're all done, I say ordinarily, when we're all done we'll go to that console to start the mission, but for right now, since I don't have the random generation done yet, we'll come over here and push our temporary button. And we'll start the mission. So let's see how it plays. So there's our camera view that's going to show the player what the problem is. And 10 seconds is just long enough to see what's going on. So let's go ahead and get up there because we got to get up to that blimp. And I believe, there we go. Okay, now we're up to the right height. So now we can get up on top of this thing. It's fun to watch that explosion going. All right, pick up the charges. Half the fun on this one is figuring out how to get up here and flying up here. And then run away! And there goes the blimp. Mission accomplished. Well, that's Agent P's third mission. I've got 2 left to go, and I'll build the 4th one next time. Until then, don't forget to stop by my blog, where you can find logic diagrams that will help you build this mission in your own toy box, if you want to do that. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, and you enjoy my content, just click my photo in the lower right corner of this video. Well, that's all for me today. I'll see you next time.